Exploring WoW Classic Part 1, the Dun Morogh Airport and Mount Ironforge. So we're going to be taking a look at how to get up on top of Mount Ironforge and get to the airport and the rest of the mountain. We're going to start off in Algaz Station in northern Loch Modan. You're going to want to head a little bit to the west and look for this tree near the gate. Now this gets a little weird, but you can actually jump up through this weird little crevice. What you want to do is use kind of a special technique. Jump and then hit the forward button on your keyboard while you are in the air near the crest of your jump. If you do this right, you'll slowly be able to inch your way up into a couple of little spots up the crevice, and then make it up into this grassy area here. Once you've made it to this point, you're home free, and the hard part is over. If you have a mount, it'll speed this up a little bit, but it is not required for any of this exploration. From this point, it's hard to explain where you want to go. Just try and follow along with what I'm showing in the video, because this terrain is kind of unfinished and mostly decorative. As you can see from what we're looking at here, you get up pretty high up on top of the mountain. You're not supposed to be up here, but you can get some good views. But so what you want to do is you're going to want to head off kind of to the northwest, in a northwestern direction, up behind some of these trees. You can get into some little spots where you'll be able to head straight north. And that's where the real fun begins. I'm going to speed this up a little bit in a few spots for the sake of time, but before we go any further, caution! Res sickness is a thing. If you die off in the middle of nowhere in some of these weird places, the game won't know what to do. It'll put your ghost in Dun Morogh or the Barrens, and you might not be able to get back, and you'll have to accept a spirit res and all the repair costs that go with that. Be careful and don't fall. So what you want to do is generally head in a western direction, kind of hugging around the north side of some of the terrain. It takes a little while to get over there, and you're going to pass through some blank landscape. A lot of these areas are going to have just blank, featureless terrain, because they're unfinished zones that the player is never intended to see. The only areas that actually have scenery and decorations are places that you really only get to see for a second or two as you fly by on, like a flight path. The airfield that we're going to check out is a perfect example of that. So here we are at the Dun Morogh Airport. Now, there are NPCs here that are all Ironforge NPCs, and if you talk to most of them, you'll get a similar menu as if you talked to a guard down in the middle of Ironforge, though, till you had to get to the bank and all that stuff. If you check the map, you can see in the upper right, we are at the airport in Dun Morogh. Over here, is what looks like it was eventually going to be like a flight master, and in retail, I think it did eventually become one. It's not really clear if this area was ever actually going to be used in Classic, in original vanilla, and it just got cut and turned into Flyover Country, or if it was just created as Flyover Country entirely to begin with, and the flight master was just kind of for decoration. But in either case, he's there, and you can see the dwarves have some little planes and stuff. Over on the right-hand side here, there's an interesting feature. There's an unfinished gate that looks like it probably goes down into Ironforge, but if you actually go in there, you get a wall and some glitched terrain as they sort of cropped the gate and the tunnel into the side of the mountain. You can kind of see in there, but it's glitchy, and you can't get through, even if you try and, Mage Blink or, use one of those weird tricks. Over going here down towards the south, over the frozen lake, you're going to see dwarves and trolls engaged in sort of like this unending battle. They just keep spawning forever. Again, you're only intended to see this from the air. Here are some NPCs, and interestingly, one of them is a hunter trainer. Now, I don't play a hunter, so I don't know if you can actually learn skills from that guy. I can't imagine that, you know, there's anything there that you can't get from the normal trainers, but it's interesting. If you really want to learn your skills in an out-of-the-way place, you can come up and see that little guy and do it. So here, these NPCs, they are regular, interactable, killable. You can see me here smacking them with the hammer. They drop loot. They're, you know, super low level, so you're not, like, getting anything worthwhile. This isn't, you know, a farm or anything. There'd really be, you know, no advantage to coming up here. And in order to get up onto Mount Ironforge, we're going to have to do a little bit more out-of-the-way exploration. Now, I take a minute in the clips here to sort of, you know, walk around and give some views. This is entirely just to illustrate where we are. I wasn't lost. I've been up here before. I just wanted to sort of show, like, where we are in relation to some recognizable terrain, like the Ironforge Gate and all that. In order to actually get up to the top, we kind of have to make a little bit of a trip around the back side, the northern side of the mountain. And again, the vast majority of this area are places that the player is never intended to see. The terrain is unfinished with a couple of very small exceptions. And you can see on the map here, you know, we're literally like up on top of the mountain, on top of the city of Ironforge. Now, over here is some interesting stuff, but I want to point something out. In a lot of these weird areas, the terrain is not clearly marked where you can go and where you can't. And, like, the slope of the terrain isn't as clear as it is in areas that are normally player accessible. So, in some of these spots, you have to kind of find a way through by trial and error. But here, you can see this is the top of Mount Ironforge. There's a summit with, you know, a cool little spot like the top of Mount Everest. It's not, I don't know why they put that there. It's kind of just some fun decoration. You can normally never see this in the live game. You don't get to see this from like a flight path ride or anything, but it's a good place to take a, you know, nice fun little screenshot. Now, if we go down the western slope of the mountain a little bit, we're going to find something really interesting. There's a camp with a couple of Alliance NPCs down here that are actually members of the AV battleground faction. And you can kill them as Horde for the AV faction rep. I think it's what, Frostwolf clan. You can kill them for a small amount of battleground rep out in the open world outside of the battlegrounds. It's only like 5 points. It's not a viable farm, really. I don't know how long they take to respawn. But it does work. You can technically get exalted without ever going into battleground and doing PvP. It'd probably just take you a million years. And these two little guys here, they'll actually also drop the AV-only items. You know, the little flesh and those little things. If you go to a loading screen, they'll vanish, but you can technically get them out in the open world.
What can I do for you?
So that is the Dun Morogh Airport and the top of Mount Ironforge. Thanks for watching.